we got to get into the main story. I don't know how to look at this one. I don't know how to look at this story. There's a lot of blame being shifted across different sides. A lot of people are saying, hey, you know, this isn't cool because the superintendent was the one at fault. Some people are saying the student's the one at fault. The grown man that turned himself into a 17-year-old with a fake ID, they're saying. Others are saying other things. Again, us over here, family, we don't groupthink. We don't follow what the news is saying. We don't follow what these people are saying. We look at things a little bit differently. I want to look at this from a whole different perspective. I do. Might anger some, might not. Some people might agree. I guess we'll find out. So I want to start by going here. And this actually ties into what we were talking about yesterday with the Netflix cancellations and how we're growing up as a society, as a community, in America specifically, but also Western countries. So what I want to do is, now we got the cool graphics and all that. We got the student right below us. This is the student right here. This person right here below me is 22 years old. But him wanted to be 17. Him wanted to go back to high school. I wouldn't be surprised if this person here didn't even go to high school when he was actually of age. Between 14 to 18, he probably didn't even go to high school. He's probably out in the streets. But he wanted to go back and relive his high school dreams. He didn't make the football team because he was too scrawny when he was 17. But he said, now I'm in my 22-year-old body and I can dominate. I'm stronger than all these young 17-year-olds at 22. So I'm going to reintegrate myself in there and I'm going to get back for everything that they put me through. Even though it's not the same students that were there when I was there, it does not matter. I'm him. I'm a kid again. So he went ahead and did that. But before we get into the news stories, and we're going to look at a couple different perspectives on this, and this is also in the state that I'm in. It's in Minnesota. It's insane. The school that he was at, I've been there before for games before. So I'm familiar with everything that's going on with the school. I want to look at this, though, and I want to see if this has anything to do with what we see going on with people actually trying to change their identities in a lot of different ways, and if we're being indoctrinated into this at a young age. Let's check this story. Let's check this video out right here. This is going to tie into the whole cancel Netflix thing that we talked about yesterday. If you want to get caught up on that, just go to yesterday's show and then zoom up to where we talked about the Netflix thing. You'll understand all that. But that ties into this.
Of course. Morning. Can you switch?
Nightshade's pronouns are they, them.
He or she just doesn't fit who I am.
My apologies. Please switch their piece. Now, the plan. Of course. Morning.
I'm going to play this back because you might not have caught it on the first play. So basically what's happening here is the robot is misgendered. Now, this is a robot, all right? So I don't even know if robots technically can have genders. But again, you can be whatever you want to be, whether you're human or robot. So this robot here, right, is misgendered and he's corrected by a child nonetheless as a robot. And then he is subsequently made to apologize because he misgendered the robot. Called him, should be they. Don't call her she, don't call him he, because I'm a robot, so I'm they. I'm trying to figure it out too.
Can you switch?
Nightshade's pronouns are they, them.
He or she just doesn't fit who I am.
My apologies. Please switch their piece. Now, the plan. Of course.
Okay, so Nightshade says they're them. Okay, cool. I'm fine with that. It's a robot. Like, I mean, what is really the problem with calling a robot they? I don't mind. I would say it. You know, I'm not going to call you he or them because technically you're a robot. It doesn't even matter. But the implied is that you need to be in the reality of whoever you're around. Not the reality of everything, but the reality of the person that you're communicating with. So you need to be able to adjust no matter the situation that you're in at all times. And I'm all for adjustments. I think you should always be able to adjust to what's going on because it's very important. We're going to look at this one that gets a little bit deeper into it. And this all goes into this guy down here in a vague way, possibly. But I think it has a lot to do with the way that we are being shown things. And this content creator calls this insane. We'll see what happens.
It took a while, but we finally found a file for a Bailey Del Vecchio. Is 32 Burnhill Road still the current address? Yeah. Have you been giving him fluids? If he's dehydrated, we'll need to place an IV. Have him change into this. Well...
I hear Solo's not feeling well. Let's take a look at the little man.
Can I please talk to you two outside? I know that you guys are busy, but as you would see, if you looked at her and not her chart, Bailey is not a boy. And by treating her like one, you are completely ignoring who she is. You're making her feel insignificant and humiliated. And that's not going to help her feel good or safe or calm. So, from here on out, please recognize her for who she is. And if at all possible, could you find me a non-blue hospital gown?
I apologize.
There I am.
Dad.
Judge, my physical and mental my physical as well as my mental fitness.
I don't have context how this scene began. We're just seeing the 1 minute clip. It could be out of context, but if that's her dad right there, then why is she the one addressing the doctors in this situation? And who is the little girl? If y'all got any more information on this, let me know. I don't have time to I'm not going on Netflix and trying to figure out this whole episode, what the episode is, and watch it in its full context. So if I'm out of context, fine. But based off of what we've seen, and I'm a person that actually doesn't believe in context. I believe that if somebody can clip you and take a portion of what you did, then that's good enough for me. And that goes for myself too. People could probably clip up one section of what I did and be like, he said this. I'll most likely stand on it. Like, honestly, because it is what it is. Context doesn't really matter all the time, most of the time to me. But why didn't the dad be the one to address the actual doctors? And why were the doctors so timid as far as they weren't even sure about the actual situation and how they should be handling this? And I want to say one thing that's a little more serious on this before we get back into just kind of the parody of all this, is that I think, especially when you're looking at how the doctors handle this and not just in society, because now you're bringing it into the medical field, right? And, you know, I know, and I'm not sure, I'm not a doctor. I am not an infectious disease expert like Marty that was talking about the cruise ships. That's not me. I just have, you know, some type of common sense, and, you know, I did okay in high school. But I am pretty sure that when you're administering drugs or treatments to people, that the gender has something to do with the way that you administer treatment to people, right? Because you can't administer a boy or a girl the same way, because girls have different things in their bodies. Boys have different things, different utensils, if you want to call it. So I don't necessarily think you can give the same treatment to either type of sex. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if you say that a boy is a girl that is at an age where you might not be able to go down there and check yourself, or it's not obvious to you to know, because a lot of times when you're younger at that age, a boy could actually look like a girl and a girl could look like a boy without even just being themselves, because neither is developed. So wouldn't that be quite dangerous if the doctors didn't actually know what type of gender they're dealing with at that age? That's a little more on a serious note. Now, they're making this lighthearted and funny and all that type of stuff. I'm going to play it back because, like you said, I agree. It was very confusing. It's very confusing. So let's play it back. I think it's important that we play this back and have a better understanding of what's going on.
It took a while, but we finally found a file for a Bailey Del Vecchio. Is 32 Burn Hill Road still the current address? Yeah. Have you been giving him fluids? If he's dehydrated, we'll need to place an IV. Have him change into this.
I don't want.
Well,
I hear someone's not feeling well. Let's take a look at the little man.
can I please talk to you two outside?
Check the doctors, bruh. I'm gonna need to pull y'all outside as a 12-year-old.
I know that you guys are busy, but as you would see, if you looked at her and not her chart, Bailey is not a boy.
She's not a boy.
And by treating her like one, you are completely ignoring who she is. You're making her feel insignificant and humiliated. And that's not gonna help her feel good or safe or calm. So, from here on out, please recognize her for who she is. And if at all possible, could you find me a non-blue hospital gown?
I apologize.
Yeah, it's about how she feels, not getting her the proper care and treatment. Because you're not doctors, you're feeling experts. You're feeling experts. You got to make sure that you make her feel good no matter what, even if it kills her or him or they. That's what you're here for, doctors. And I'm going to need you to understand that because I'm standing on business on this, bruh. As a 13-year-old girl that didn't go to medical school, I'm going to come out here. I'm going to pull y'all to the side and I'm going to check y'all right here in the hospital in front of everybody as people timidly just look on and see the whole interaction. And my dad's right there off frame. He's right outside of camera view and he's over here watching the whole thing happen and he's understanding what's going on. I run this household. And many kids do run their household, in all honesty. And I'm not surprised at any of this. You know, for us, we always look at things a little bit differently, man. Now, some people might want me to be outraged by all this, but I think she handled herself quite well. She was very articulate in the way that she spoke. She said please afterwards. She did not cause a stir. She did not go crazy on the doctors. And the doctors, they ultimately ran off and made sure they got the correct color gown because she's not wearing blue. She's going to need pink because that's how they identify. All right. This is going to lead into what's going on over here at the high school, loosely, all right? Because now we have this 22-year-old man that believes that he's 17 years old. This guy right here below me believed that he was 17 years old to the point where he invested in an ID that was fake and other documents to be able to put himself into a White Bear High School and even join the football team. Let's go to some of these stories. We'll go to this one. Actually, you know what? I got a couple of them. Which one we want to start with? I'm gonna start with the very first one. The very first one would be this one. And then we'll progressively go through, all right? This is the main story. So we're gonna spend some time on this one.
I think the school needs to make some huge changes and they need to apologize to us and make sure that we know that our kids are safe here.
Our top story tonight, a 22-year-old man arrested after officials say he posed as a student at White Bear Lake High School. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 9 and Fox Local. I'm Kelsey Carlson.
And I'm Randy Meyer. School officials say the man used fraudulent documents to enroll at White Bear Lake High School. That's where we find our Babs Santos this hour. Babs, I think many are wondering what the man's motives were for pretending to be a teenager. Any information on that tonight?
Well, tonight, several parents expressed to us their concerns and fears that this person was at the school to exploit young girls. And this evening, those concerns are being echoed in a letter from a state representative to the district superintendent, which goes as far as to call on the superintendent to resign.
They just feel very unsafe and they were really hurt by it. I think we'll be having some pretty tough conversations.
This week,
it's completely baffling and disgusting.
Families at White Bear Lake High School are outraged.
I cannot fathom that this happened. How did it happen?
After learning a student enrolled here is actually 22 years old, an adult posing as a child.
My first initial reaction, I wasn't quite sure what to think, because it's like, how does a 22-year-old get into school? It just doesn't seem real.
Authorities say the alleged imposter used fraudulent documents and a false identity to gain admission into the school.
People need to be aware that there is a predator, not only in our neighborhood, but at our children's school.
Now, the suspect is in police custody and barred from district property after parents tipped off authorities.
You never know who you're with. And why did this man have access to all these students?
The news is extremely unsettling for families who tell Fox 9 the fake student was on the school's varsity football team. They're now demanding the school take steps to strengthen its enrollment screening process.
Everybody is so afraid for our kids' safety. There is no explanation to how this man got into our schools. He was allowed in the locker room with the football players. He was allowed into activities with these kids. And it's just so many safeguards were missed on this. It's unexplainable to me how our kids were put in danger.
In a message
hold on a second.
today, the district said in part, while enrolling this individual, we followed our enrollment process, which is as rigorous as state law allows. We are continuing to investigate the situation and are working closely with White Bear Lake Police. Live tonight.
Yeah, they're working closely with White Bear Police to see what's going on. Might be. You think this is a federal issue? Think the FBI should get involved and see what's going on? Let's go to a couple other news stories and we'll discuss it. Let's see what this one's talking about.
Conduct with minors. Police now say those are all charges on the table for the grown man accused of faking his way into a metro area high school. As Jason Rantala reports, it's not his first run-in with the law.
I feel like the school completely failed our kids on this.
A letter from White Bear Lake Schools says a 22-year-old man enrolled in the high school using fraudulent documentation and a false identity. We've confirmed that man's real identity, but he's not yet been charged with a crime in this case. But he was charged with a 15-year-old girl in 2023. The judge gave him 1 year of probation, which
was sending her various images via Snapchat, including a photo of him nude. Hold on, how old was he at this time? We got the updated story with his mugshot. So this is all updating as we go on.
We've confirmed that man's real identity, but he's not yet been charged with a crime in this case. But he was charged with sending a nude photo of himself to a 15-year-old girl in 2023.
Okay, hold on. So 15-year-old girl. Was the girl 13 and he was 20? Or was he 20 and the girl was 15? It doesn't really matter, but it kind of does. But then he was released. Did he have to become a sexual predator? Like as far as, because I know when you have anything to do with kids, which is the most awful crime you can do under any circumstance, then you would necessarily have to register as a sex offender, and then it'd make your profile a lot larger, preventing things like this from happening, like being able to infiltrate a high school with your actual face, right? So I wonder what the judge did with this.
The judge gave him 1 year of probation, which the court says he violated earlier this year. A spokesperson.
When you believe somebody, or when somebody tells you something the first time, believe them. He just told you what he was in 2020 or 2022. He told you what he was. He said, I am a sexual predator. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get next to young women and young boys, it's looking like, at this point. And the judge gave him 1 year of probation, not even no jail time. He didn't even have to spend 1 day in jail. Not one.
Come on, man.
And he gets out. And then he continues to progress. He says, you know what? Snapchat ain't enough for me. Nah, I don't want to do this digitally. I want to do this physically in person. I'm going to actually begin to transition into a 17-year-old. From 22, I'm going to transition to a 17-year-old. And then I'm going to go back to high school and intermingle with the kids as far as being in the locker room with the varsity team. He might even been on, no, he had to be on varsity at 17. And interact with the women, go to lunch, create relationships with all these teenagers, be right there in their circle. The teachers are there. They're seeing this going on. You're in their class. Hey, Miss Lucy. Hey, Mr. Bernard. Hey, Miss Waldo. Hey, principal. Whatever. He's right there at 22. Nobody's wise on this at all. He's there. And then, and it goes back to what I was saying. You just said, and this is for whatever majority that agrees with the Netflix situation, which that's fine. Go ahead. I don't care. It doesn't affect me in that way. I'm just talking about it. You can take your own stance however you want to. But for those people, would it not be a bit hypocritical to demonize this person? Because all he did was say, you know what? I don't think I'm 22 years old. I think I'm 17. And I'm going to go get an ID that proves that. I'm going to go to school with 17-year-olds. Actually 14 to 17, because you got freshmen in there. They're like 13, 14. That's what he said. That's what you just got done promoting, which was the lead up into this. You said it's okay for the boy in the hospital bed to be a girl. Okay? Your choice. Fine. I actually don't care about that. However, now you can't come back and say this isn't okay. Because when you open the floodgates, you open the floodgates. Now, if somebody's 50 and they want to say they're 70, that's fine. Somebody's 30 and they can play the part and look like they're 16, 17 and go ahead and enroll in Forest Lake High School or White Bear High School or maybe the high school that your kids go to. Well, it's fair game. If you're agreeing with the premise that is we talked about earlier.
Person with Forest Lake Schools tells me he played for the football team in the 2022 season and was a student at Forest Lake High School until 2023.
I think the people who were overseeing this issue and let this slip past, they need to face the consequences.
State statute says admission to public schools requires students to be under 21 years of age. As for verifying a student...
21 years of age? I guess no, that's the term super senior. I guess the day that you can buy liquor, that's the end of it. But you can still get in there with some Newports. You can buy cigarettes at 18. 21 years of age. So you can be 20 years old and go to school with 14-year-olds. That's blurring the lines as well. Should be 18 hard cutoff, depending on when your birthday is. But, you know, that'll be last year no matter what. Then after that, you should have to go to, like, you know, alternative school, like, for 18 to 21. Not necessarily going to school. And I'll take it a step further. Anybody that knows that a lot of these high schools are attached to junior highs and elementaries. Some are K through 12. Some are 6 through 12. Meaning that you could be in there with 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. Depending on how your high school set up, the middle school might be attached to the high school. They might even intermingle at bus time. Listen, I told you we're going to deep dive into this one.
A student's age, public schools may request documentation that may include things like a passport, birth certificate, health records, or affidavit from a parent. At White Bear Lake, the principal says they followed our enrollment process, which is as rigorous as state law allows.
It's disgusting. I actually grew up 2 blocks that way, right across the street.
Now, State Representative Elliot Engen, who graduated from the high school, is calling for change.
So many things have to go wrong for this to occur. First and foremost, it starts at the top. Leadership needs to be held accountable. Trust that their kids, when they go to school, are going to be safe.
Jason Rantala, WCCO News.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to get into the most recent one. This is the most recent one now, where they're going to actually release his mugshot. I want to lead into it. Is it this one? It might be this one. No, it's not this one. It's this one. All right, this is the most recent one as far as we know. And then I think they actually start to begin to call for the superintendent's job. But I'm wondering if the principal has just as much to do with this. I actually know a couple of principals. I might reach out and see what's going on, but probably not. I think that the principal has more of a direct line though, right? Just with me thinking about it from that standpoint. Because the superintendent doesn't necessarily go into the schools like that. Like they oversee. It's kind of similar to like the way to look at it would be like this. You got the president where he oversees the whole United States, but then you got the governor that oversees the state. And then under the governor is the mayor and then councilman and so forth. So I would actually say if it's within a specific state, it falls on the governor first. Specific city, the mayor first. And then you can start to go up from there. But I got to say that the principal probably should be under the most fire in this. But correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't exactly know. I'm learning along with y'all on some of this. But it makes sense to me.
Right now, the lawmaker that represents White Bear Lake is calling for the district superintendent to resign. That after discovery of a 22-year-old man posing as a 17-year-old student there. In a letter, State Representative Elliot Engen says this breach allowed the...
Yeah, Lola. They don't want to hear me say... They don't want to hear me talking about this because it's a bit uncomfortable, but I think it's more uncomfortable when your children are in school with a grown adult that is already a confessed sexual predator. I think that might be a bit more uncomfortable. But, you know, when you start to expose people, then they start to be upset. Lucky for me, I'm still relatively a small YouTuber, so I don't got to deal with a lot of pushback yet, but it'll come, and I don't mind. And personally, I think that we need to be able to have these conversations because they're important. Let's see what this guy got to say. State Rep Elliot, let's go back a little bit. Let's let him say what he had to say.
Elliot Engen says this breach allowed the man to commit illegal sexual acts against a minor, representing a catastrophic lapse in basic enrollment verification protocols. Tonight, we had our Babs Santos look into Minnesota's high school enrollment process. Babs, you also spoke with State Representative Elliot Engen.
Yeah, and he says now is the time to enhance school district verification requirements and improve resources for districts to implement robust background and identity checks. Currently, White Bear Lake High School and many other school districts require a birth certificate, driver's license or utility bill, and immunization records from enrollees. The district has said while enrolling this individual, we followed our enrollment process, which is as rigorous as state law allows. However, it admits the alleged imposter used fraudulent documents and a false identity to gain entry. Now, Engen wants all districts to have the same standards for identity verification, replacing exemptions for migrant students, and he's already having conversations about possible legislation with a handful of his colleagues.
We're going to get into the second half of this in 1 second. They tried to really gloss over the migrant student situation. Exception for migrant students. Let me play it back.
Exemptions for migrant students, replacing exemptions for migrant students. And
is that the loophole that he used? Said he's a migrant. He looked like he could be possibly like Haitian or something like that. He got the XX Tentacion locks with the gold on one side with the black on the other side. So you're telling me that if you say that you're a migrant student, that you don't have to provide the same documents as a natural born citizen or an American student? Tell me what kind of sense that makes.
Just because I don't care doesn't mean I don't understand.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
This is getting deeper and deeper as we go on. I didn't even catch that like at all the first time. So my thing is this. Wouldn't you have to have more documents than a natural person? Because like for me, like I know I'm from here, so I don't really have to prove it. I got plenty of people that can vouch for me, but even then, you know, you can look back and see history from me, places I've lived. You can Google my name. I'm going to pop up. It's going to show my whole address. I could be doxxed in a second. We can all be doxxed in a second. You pull up most people's full name, it's going to pull in the first 5 Google searches. It's going to have your mom's address. It's going to have where you work. It's going to have your LinkedIn. Everything's going to be right there. Now, if you're a migrant, you're going to come in and it's going to pull up nothing. At least not from here, not from America. So wouldn't you have to have more things to prove who you are? Maybe like, you know, DNA sample, fingerprints, mugshot, facial scan. Come on, man. This is crazy, y'all. This is absolutely insane.
And he's already...
We're going to see the guy, though, now. Let's check this out. Yeah. Yeah, the cutoff should be 18 years old. I agree. At 18, if you couldn't complete high school by 18, you're done, man. You're cut off.
Bye, have a great time.
That's it. You're done. You can go to alternative school. That's it. You can go online. We'll let you go online. You can't step foot on a campus at 18 as a student. You can go get a job.
Already having conversations about possible legislation with a handful of his colleagues.
I think that this is White Bear Lake potentially trying to save face and shield themselves from a lawsuit. Because if they had done everything right, I doubt that this would have happened because it doesn't seem to be happening anywhere else.
This is the suspect in a recent photograph shared with us after White Bear Lake's recent homecoming night. And from our reporting, we know he was known by students for about the last month or so as football player 17-year-old KJ Perry. But in reality, he is 22-year-old Kelvin Lubke. He was adopted from Liberia at the age of 5 and more recently lived in the area with caretakers who believe he has age dysphoria and 2 birth certificates. Lubke has previously been convicted for sending a naked photograph to a 15-year-old. Tonight, Fox 9 also confirmed that Lubke was enrolled as a student athlete at Forest Lake Area High School from January of 2022 to January of 2023. Currently, police in White Bear Lake are pursuing more criminal charges against him related to this recent fraud, forgery, and unlawful conduct involving interactions with minors. Kelsey?
All right, thanks, Babs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually have to do this real quick because the rep is being a little bit disingenuous. Hold on, let me go back real quick.
Replacing exemptions for migrant students, and he's already...
I got a good memory. If it's one thing I got a good memory.
With a handful of his colleagues.
This is not the... Watch what he says.
White Bear Lake potentially trying to save face and shield themselves from a lawsuit. Because if they had done everything right, I doubt that this would have happened because it doesn't seem to be happening anywhere else.
I'm going to push back on that. And you know why? Because I have one story that I pulled up literally right now that I remember. And I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to put it right here so the rep can understand what's going on. 24-year-old Venezuelan man. Strange enough, Venezuelan man. Do we got audio? I think we got audio. We're doing this live. This is live. Like, this, none of this is pre-planned. Just the outline of it. I'm gonna let this sit right here though. 24-year-old Venezuelan man, I remember this story, was arrested for pretending to be a 16-year-old high school student in Ohio, according to the city of Perrysburg police. And there was another one in California too. And I could find that probably in less time. But we'll just stick with this one right here because I remember this one is the most recent. The California one was like 3-4 years ago. And he played on the basketball team. He played on the basketball team. I remember it like it was yesterday because it was very disturbing. Very disturbing. So when the rep says this, he's got to take a little bit more accountability and do his research because he obviously did not do that. He could have did a Google search and seen how many he could ask ChatGTP, which he probably utilizes a lot to conduct his speeches and all of his outlines. So he's going to have to say that. Now, I'm not saying that he's wrong in any of this. It should not happen. But come on, man, let's be realistic here. This is not the first time it happened, but we do see a trending pattern where Venezuelan man, and then they're saying that this guy here has dysphoria of what he believes his age is? Or was he indoctrinated into this as a kid from watching certain types of programming and having people influence his life to believe that he is not exactly what he is? You know, if you grow up your whole life and they're telling you you're a boy when you're a girl, or you grow up your whole life and they're telling you that you're actually a grown man when you're a young kid, then, you know, you might have some issues there. Because our parents and the people that we see around us in social media is very influential, especially the shows that they put on the TV and let play in a recurring fashion all day while you sit there and go out to the club and party and say, watch this, little Johnny. Mommy's going to go out for a little bit. And you're out partying, getting drunk, getting high, smoking crack cocaine. And then all of a sudden you come back and your kid does not even know reality anymore. And now he's posing as a 17-year-old when he's 22 in a high school. It's crazy.
This is the suspect in a recent photograph shared with us after White Bear Lake's recent homecoming night. And from our reporting, we know he was known by students for about the last month or so as football player 17-year-old KJ Perry. But in reality, he is 22-year-old Kelvin Lubke. He was adopted from Liberia at the age of 5 and more recently lived in the area with caretakers who believe he has age dysphoria.
I'm not letting up. Nah, I'm not letting up. Watch this. I got it right here. I'm not letting up. Because I don't like when people are disingenuous. So I got the story right here. 7 years ago this happened. 7 years ago.
The basketball team in Dallas this past
I told you I
season
remembered
turned a lot
it.
of heads. He would sometimes drop 30 or more points in a game. Turns out he really was a man among boys. Tony DeCopel has the score.
It was a year to remember for Rashun Richardson, leading his basketball team to the playoffs this winter and earning the District Offensive Player of the Year award. There was just one problem. Authorities say the supposedly 17-year-old Richardson was actually this man, 25-year-old Sidney Gilstrap Portley, looking for a second taste of athletic glory. Christopher Bayer is the principal of Hillcrest High School in Dallas.
He fooled us, he did. And it's painful to even say that because it hurts in both ways. Like
why painful?
It's painful because of the kind of the slap in the face feeling. Our office staff, our counselors, everybody reached out, trying to find ways to help support this student with a really horrible story.
Gilstrap Portley allegedly told officials he was a refugee of Hurricane Harvey and homeless too. Dallas School Superintendent Michael Hinojosa says in those situations, the district temporarily waives ID requirements.
He didn't look out of place.
Not out of place at all.
But after 9 months in the Dallas school system, one of Gilstrap Portley's former coaches tipped off authorities.
This was a thirst that he had, and he put everything at risk for himself and for us to live this charade.
Gilstrap Portley last walked out of school here April 25th. Now, he has since been charged with tampering with government records, a charge we tried to reach him for comment on. Now, Jeff, if he had not been caught, it appears he would have been nearly 30 years old when he graduated from high school the second time.
Be interested to hear what he has to say about this. Tony, thank you.
I remembered it. So, you know, when we come here and we say, well, you know, we should have been already like not understanding what's going on and why does everybody and yo, bro led the hey, I'm gonna give the principal though that other school because we haven't heard from the White Bear principal yet. And that actually goes back to the original point. I think the principal is probably the most culpable in all of this as the principal because everything has to run past their desk. The superintendent oversees a lot of schools. The principal just oversees that one school. So them and the assistant probably should have been able to realize what was going on. But the one in California, he went ahead and led the team to the championship and all that and was the best player on the team, obviously, because he should have been playing probably in like the NBA or something. I don't know, like he's a grown man at that point. Like there's a lot of changes you go through from like 16 to 25. That grown man strength is something different. So look, I don't really know. I'm just at a point where it's like, this is happening. We got to have a better understanding of what's going on. And it just brings a lot of things into question. And I'm not saying the superintendent shouldn't be in trouble for this, but I'm saying that only pointing to the superintendent is crazy. And yeah, let's do a little bit better, Elliot.